Hi there, this is Jennifer Carter with Newport This Week, and I am here today with Mr. Carlino from Rogers High School. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good, and congratulations. It's so amazing. You won an award for Distance Learning Hero with Cox Communications. Did you have any idea this was going to happen?
No, I didn't. They actually, we had a PD day on Wednesday, professional development for the teachers, and I was leading a session, like an open session, and about 15 people had signed up, and then the principal managed to surprise me and say, "Hey, there's a couple people from Cox that want to watch," and I was like, "That's kind of weird." And then when we started, like the superintendent was on, the assistant superintendent, all these people. I'm like, this is kind of strange. What do they care about how to use Google Classroom? And then he interrupted the meeting, and he was like, surprised, and I was completely caught off guard. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. So I've been wanting to talk to a couple of teachers, but I haven't really been able to get anyone completely locked down. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about distance learning. So I guess what has made you such an expert with distance learning so quickly? Is there something about you that like made you, keen on that or good at that?
Well, one of the things I think that I'm a PhD student at URI, and so I have done some classes and some meetings and just some group work with my cohort for that. I did get a lot of experience using various platforms like WebEx, Zoom, for doing things like that through the university. So when the distance learning plan was initiated, I was like, well, okay, this isn't something completely strange to me. Additionally, my wife, Deirdre, is a teacher in South Kingston. She works at Curtis Corner Middle School, and she teaches, she's a librarian, but she also teaches all the computer stuff. So,
Ah, okay.
so together, yeah, we were able to kind of master stuff pretty quickly based on that experience. And I can kind of turn to her for a lot of great ideas that she provided. So she actually is more of a star than me. But
Yeah, it's funny because I find myself when I've had questions about technology or things that need to be done technology-wise for me to provide to the school, the librarians are always the ones that I call because they seem to know all the systems. They have to work with like all
yeah,
the things.
that's why it's called library and information science is what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was like really super helpful. But as far as like the platforms and things like that, I did have some prior experience. Plus, at Rogers High School, we've implemented Google Classroom for the past several years. That was a mandate. So that wasn't wholly new. It was just kind of the virtual piece, the doing the online piece that had to be to augment what was already in practice.
Yeah. So tell me, what does your day look like now as far as the time you're spending? Are you spending hour for hour online with these kids, or is it like what is
Yeah,
it? And
yeah.
I should say, what do you teach first so that you can tell our audience? I don't know.
I'm a math teacher, and this year I teach geometry. College prep geometry. I have two sections of that. I teach two sections of honors pre-calculus, and then I teach the AP calculus course. Um, and so, what we were told initially when it started is we would run school like a regular school day,
Yeah.
despite being online. So right from the get-go, I sent out a note and I created, the classrooms and list. And I told all my students, hey, class starts first period 7:30. You will sign in at 7:30. I'll be on at 7:20, and you sign in. And for the classes that start at 12:40 in the afternoon, same thing. So my class day is exactly like I was doing at school. Uh, and I think the regularity and predictability for the students, like they realize like, hey, this is what I have to do, that
Yeah.
they just got used to the routine. And so it worked out pretty well. In the AP calculus and honors pre-calculus, I have like 100% attendance.
Hmm.
And for the other class, we had some truancy issues with certain students that weren't attending school, and those problems, of course, continued. But for the
Yeah.
most part, the kids that were going to school, are doing it online, and it's worked pretty well. Uh, the hardest part, I think, is you end up it's a little more challenging in this environment because it's a little more difficult to get students to cooperate and work together, as far as like cooperative learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's a little more like teacher directed, whereas like me talking or lecturing or using the screen as a whiteboard.
Yeah.
more so than I would do in like the regular classroom.
Yeah.
So it's not optimal, but
Mhm.
it's, it's better than doing nothing. Uh, and the other thing is that because not every student has the same kind of technology package at home. I mean, every student was provided a Chromebook by the school, which is great, and that's really making this, able to happen. But
Mhm.
not every kid has scanners or phones or printers. So, initially I had to figure out, hey, like what students don't have all the, the resources, the full complement of resources, and then kind of tailor, making assignments so that every kid has the same ability to complete
Right.
complete
Right.
those. And that's probably the hardest part, which takes kind of the most time. So I actually spend more time doing planning and preparation
That was going to
than
be
I
my
did.
next question.
Yeah, than I did like in regular teaching, because there it's kind of like, hey, I can pull together kind of quick, uh, but kind of creating certain, changing an assessment from, on paper to making it like a multiple choice or something that's formatted uh, as a Google assignment is a little bit time consuming, and that's kind of the real difference.
Hmm. Do you think it's gotten a little easier from when you started till now with doing some of that planning stuff, or is it still the same? Because I find a lot of teachers I talk to, their workload is they're working really late a lot, and they're answering questions at times that they normally wouldn't. Are you finding it's getting a little easier as you go, or?
Yeah, I'm kind of an exception. I'm a former military guy. So like my rule, I always tell everybody like, hey, I'm on till midnight. If you have any questions, email, whatever, and I'll check. And occasionally students will do that, and sometimes early in the year, it's like 11:50. Some kids seeing like, hey, is he really up? Uh, but it's kind of stayed steady state, I think. Initially, like when it first started, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of kids, having some issues, connectivity, and just the stress of the overall situation. But the longer it's gone on, the more stable and predictable that environment's become.
Yeah.
Uh, so, for me, it's kind of just the same. It's just, and I just do what I do, so I don't really worry about it too much.
So, do you think there's some things that have come of this, some things you've learned, other teachers have learned that are gonna change the way you do things in the classroom, or, you know,
Yeah, I think there is some good that comes out of it. Obviously, like I said, I mean, ideally, when you look at education and how students learn, learning is, especially particularly in mathematics, it's a social endeavor. People need to work together. You're going to learn by modeling, watching other people grow, and it's this is all that PhD stuff that I do,
yeah,
and you don't have that same experience, I think, in this virtual model. However, that being said, there are some things that are pretty good. Kids, you know, they end up with a little more, personal responsibility. They're a little more like, hey, you have to complete this. There's not somebody standing over them all the time. So there's some benefits to that, especially for like juniors and seniors. They're going to get to college and they're going to be exposed to things like this.
right,
Um, where there's an expectation that they just know how all this works. And now they will have seen that, this online presentation, or, hey, watch this lecture that I made for you. And then, we'll meet. So I think in that sense, it's pretty good. The other thing is I do think, there was a lot of talk in the state about how do we manage like a snow day,
hmm,
losing time, or in Newport last year when we had the gas leak that
yeah,
cost a couple days of school. And I do think, like, for short-term things, like, this is a great solution. The kids are prepared. I can say, hey, we can run a class even if we're not in the building, and it can still be super productive.
yeah,
Um, so I think there are some things like that. It's also, looking. I think it's helped build a little camaraderie among teachers. There's a lot of people asking, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? And so there's a lot of peer-to-peer interaction as far
mhm,
as the staff, which I think has helped the school.
yeah,
Um, always a good thing there. And like I said, for the students, not optimal. I do really feel bad, especially for like the seniors who don't get to experience graduation and some of those things that come with that, and even just the interaction with adults and their friends. Um, but like I said, I think there are a couple good things that have come out of it.
yeah. I guess you're probably looking forward to actually being back in the classroom then at some point in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, like I'm taking a class this summer and it'll be online, and like I said, it is what it is, and I try to spend time with the students, and just even not talking just about the content, but just about things like that. And they really, you can tell at this point that social interaction piece
Hmm.
is kind of missing, and
Yeah.
it'll be nice to get back to normalcy, I should say, when that occurs.
Yeah. Well, I really do appreciate you joining us today. And from Next Up with Newport this week, we are hoping that we're going to talk to a couple of teachers that are teaching at different grade levels to get an idea of what's going on in those other schools as well. Thanks again, Michael, and congratulations on your award.
Thanks a lot.